Now, in a workforce with varied roles, right, from sales to tech to leadership, how can this model help in tailoring training for diverse learner profiles?
So I will try to give you the example from each different cohorts so that the listeners are well aware what we are talking about.
Right.
Let us first start with an onboarding process, because onboarding is the first process that happens for a company, and that is where the training happens for large number of days.
Correct.
Any given organization today, bare minimum does a 15 to 21 days of training as an onboarding process.
Correct.
If you divide the onboarding process, it has three palettes. The first palette is your day one, where you fill up the forms. Day two is your HR processes, leaves, and all these things. Now, POSH being one of the areas that's being part. If you look at the first 3 days, we are only giving input.
Okay.
Nothing else. We're just creating an awareness that this is your first company, or you worked with a different company, the processes are different. That's all about it.
Right.
Now comes your product training. If you're into a product-centric organization. If you're into a sales-centric organization, then there will be a sales training.
Correct.
If you're into a typically service-centric organizations, then there are customer services, the CSAT scores, the NPS scores, all will be taken care of. This typically consumes 5 long days to complete. What is this process?
Right.
So then we take a test, understanding. Now look at the model. We said PPIU, right? What they created.
Right.
But we are using into a different way.
True.
So we are using processing first, then we went into input, then we came back to understanding. Now comes the behavioral part, which is the perceiving, the sensing and the intuition.
Right.
So we do business games, we do simulations, we do a lot of, let's say in one of the places we can do LDGMs as a part of there, which is based on competencies.
True.
The change is LDGM was created with a notion of a set debrief.
Right.
Today's certified people are changing those debriefs.
Correct.
Perceiving. How do people sense the information?
Right.
How do people intuit during that entire cycle? How people are intuitive.
True.
And fun and learning. So you break that model. And this is only for the onboarding, because onboarding is fresh or new. So the reaction of the learners are less because they're not into the system. So we use this. Now let's say the company has a second level of training program, which is a leadership development program.
Right.
Which is a succession planning, and then first time managers, then senior managers, then AVPs. Now, what I used there was only perceiving and understanding. I didn't go to the process. Now the question is why?
Right.
Simple factors. I want them to perceive what is first time manager. What creates the cohort being a first time manager. And if you go to the core of a first time manager, it is I versus we. It's a transition. It's a mindset, right?
True.
You have to work on a mindset, you have to work on the sensory information and the intuitive information, where people would learn through various experiences or theories and so on and so forth. So that was the primary way of doing it. So I'm not using processing.
Right.
Because I know these people now know what the organization is. They know how to process information.
True.
Immediately comes the understanding, where we can do a pre and post check. We do a leadership assessments. We do first time manager assessments. We do impact assessments.
Right.
So clearly getting into the understanding part. Input is a constant out here, because either we are doing online learning, and we did in one of the organizations, we said we'll do 2 days of online learning of only 2 hours.
Okay.
Immediately it ends, you go for an assessment to get a score. So the people who gets X plus scores will be invited for a 1-day leadership workshop.
Interesting.
So we used PPIU all. So the dynamic of this model is you can use 1, you can use 2, you can use 3, you can use 4. The best part of this model is from a sales perspective. Now, sales being one of the pioneer in all the industries that we work for.
Right.
The biggest thing we start by saying the difference between SALE versus SELL.
Right.
Processing information.
True.
There would be some people who might not be very good in grooming, right?
Right.
But they are excellent when they go for a call.
True.
The way they speak about the product, the services, so on and so forth. So we start with clearly the processing part. Then we bifurcate the sales force into how many people are active. They want to do calls. They want to learn through calling. So you create a cohort of in that active learners, reflective learners. For reflective learners, typically it will be an LMS and then might be a 1 or 2 day sales workshop where a person from the same company would come and share his success story. And then you build an action plan on it. Now coming to understanding.
Right.
If you see the weaving of this program, we are not saying that the L&D guy has to do everything. He has to adhere to the process, create an administrative outline,
and facilitate it.
That's the beauty of the model. I mean, you don't have to use everything and everywhere. Then you can use it for the top management in a different way. Although a lot of people say today that we use coaching models. I mean, end of the day, if you're going for a coach, he has to ask questions, right?
Absolutely.
So he will process an information from the answers. He will create a perception from the answers.
True.
Then he'll give a verbal from the input. And end of the day, the coach ends with the typical is, what is your biggest takeaway? That's understanding. So this model is everywhere, Roshan. I mean, the more I have worked with the model, tried to understand, it's much more relevant today and it will be relevant for years to come.
Right. So I believe it's humans at the end of the day. It's human psychology. So it will continue throughout. Interesting.
And because it started from an engineering background.
Right.
Which is one of the toughest training to do.
Right.
Because it's technical training.
True. It's hardcore technical.
Hardcore technical. You draw. If you're a civil engineer, if you're a mechanical engineer, there are machines.
It's model based.
It's model based.
True.
But those two gentlemen and the lady, Felder and Silverman, I mean, they thought in 1988.
Right.
I mean, if I try to look at, I mean, almost 3 decades or almost 2.5 decades over.
4 decades.
It's still relevant today.
Great. So, Gabriel, you gave us a very good clarity on what the model is, how it is applied, and it's such an old model. Plus, you come with close to 3 decades of experience doing this. You've been living this in and out. But for those who are unfamiliar with this, right, the new age L&D professionals, can you walk us through the key dimensions of this Felder-Silverman model and how they show up in adult learners in the corporate setting?
Okay. See, the first challenge that the current generation of L&D professionals will face or is facing in today's scenario is the timeline for creating an impact is getting shortened as we speak.
Right.
I mean, not put it in like by minute, but by years. Right. I mean, pre-COVID, if I think of my older generations, we'll wait for a year or 18 months to check an impact. Even if I use a Kirkpatrick model says bare minimum 9 months. Now what is happening is they are trying to find out whether I can do a program and finish it in 6 months and try to find a result out of it or not.
Okay.
So the key challenge for today's professional is that they have to blend. Now the models are never going to change. So for example, if I need to speak of David Kolb, the model remains the same. Right. But still, how can I use it? So the first thing this professional should do is read.
Read about these models.
All these models. I've always spoken to my team members. They when they used to come to me and say, Gabriel, how do I increase my knowledge? Is read. I mean, there is no other way. Right. Even though AI comes and gives you everything, for me, I'll not use the word problem, but for me, I'll use the word concern is AI is an amazing tool.
Right.
It can give you everything.
Right.
The problem is if you do not know what the model says or what the dynamics the model says.
Right. For which you have to understand the model.
Yes. So the first thing is read. Second thing is once you read, try to understand whether which one is your implementable at the current scenario.
Okay.
So let me give you a little bit snapshot of how the L&D team shapes up typically. So there is an L&D head, then you might have senior managers or training managers, and then you have training. This is a basic, simple setup of an organization.
True.
In some organization, there is an L&D head and the managers and the training is outsourced. These are the basic model that we see in every organization today in India and abroad. I mean, more or less. There are some other ways people do it. Eventually, the learning and development is going to merge with HR because HR will become the bigger gamut.
Right.
But that's still there is time. So still the L&D arm is very different than the HR, but they are working on the same platform.
True.
When you get something as a program or as a process or you're told to implement something, wait and see what you can do.
Okay.
Now, if I being a little bit, I'll not use the word cynical, but if I say I don't want to read those model, but what can I do? I'm being thorough with those both professionals in my team.
Right.
I had a team member who was thorough. I mean, the moment I say a model, oh, Gabriel is speaking about this model. Okay, I'll develop something.
Right.
I had another team member where that person used to say, Gabriel, I am not keen in reading. Can you give me a snapshot? But there are two professionals, right? But for both these people, you have to create a learning cohort for them.
Right.
Like a learning Friday or a learning Monday or a learning session, just 2 hours. You brief them what the model is. You give them what this model can do, and then ask them to design a program.
Right.
Like a future one, plus whatever currently is going on. What will happen is you are increasing the cognition of those individuals. Once you're increasing the cognition, then you leave them.
Right.
Because model has to be read. I mean, I can, and the listeners can think, why Gabriel, we have chat GPT. I'll still go with what I said. Still have to understand the model.
Right.
If you don't understand the model, you cannot. The simple reason is, go ahead today after this podcast. Just type this line or this question. What training programs can I implement using the Felder-Silverman model? It will give you an entire architecture. For
Right.
this level, you will get this. For this level, you will get this. Now, what will you do? Can you create a design and punch it there? It's no.
Not really, no.
And there are people who are read. As a consultant, if you go and say, this I'm using for this model, and if that person knows what the model speaks about, he will ask questions. How will you answer them? So that's the first thing.
True.
Second, use it for a small number of people. Do not scale it.
Right.
Very small. Let's say
A pilot.
I'll not use the word pilot because pilot comes up very late. Let's say you have, okay, functional programs, product training programs, right? And you were told, you joined a company and you were told, I want to improve this program.
Right.
What do? You get back. So first you check how the information is processed by people.
Right.
Second, what is their understanding? Because these are experienced people. You're not doing it for the first time.
True.
So, or start from the other way, run a knowledge check. Then you create different dimensions of that knowledge check, that the best knowledgeable people, okay, cohort 1.
Right.
Now you go back to processing and perceiving. How do they perceive? How do they process?
Right.
Because their input will be 2. So one of the key points of the Felder-Silverman model in understanding is sequential and global.
Okay.
Sequential, what this is, sequential learners are those learners who wants to do level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and then certification.
Right.
Global is no. Give me the full picture first. What will happen after this?
Right.
So let's say I have a cohort where I am doing this as a sequential process. So if you're in product A, you have to finish product A training, then you have to go to product B, which is absolutely fine. Nobody will come and tell you anything.
Right.
Where you're using pre and post knowledge check to know what is their understanding.
Right.
On the same note, you have created a kind of an architecture for a promotion or a succession planning, which is global. And then you decode the entire program design, then you decode the LMS learning models, then you decode the LMS learning modules.
Right.
And then you apply.
True.
And then do a 2-day workshop on product training for the best or the lowest quartile and see how they're doing it. So you have to mix and match. You just cannot go and say, I will do PP, IU and then finish it off.
Right. But then the question also comes up, Gabriel, is can the business accommodate that implementation of the solution that you just spoke of?
Okay. How do you want me to answer this question? A direct one or
in a direct one, obviously.
See, business will always come to you in a direct slot by saying, I want it today.
Right.
I mean, even if
it's in bold letters.
It's a bold letters. I mean,
True.
I've worked for various organizations as a directors or as a consultant in both these spaces. I've been told the same way.
True.
How do you do that? One thing what Felder said in his way of theories is, first educate the stakeholders that what you are going to do.
Right.
And I will go back to a model which I've taken from Simon Sinek. I don't have to pay royalty. I don't hope he knows this. It's a WHW model. The what, how, and why.
Right.
But you reverse it. So when you're going to a stakeholder for that business impact, you say why you are doing it. And you clearly draw the line of, okay, if I do A, I'll get B. If I do C, I'll get D, provided the business acquisition or the business platform or there is a business review.
Right.
And going back to it, you get into a pipeline of delivering the program. So why is completed?
True.
Now go to how will you achieve that impact. I'm not using any programs. I'm not using any sense it's a leadership program. What I'm saying, why am I doing this? How will I do this? Now tell them it's a 1-day program, it's a 2-day program, it's a 2+2, so 2 hours of learning program. Let me go back to my working days in one of the pharmaceutical giants. We used to do a lot of assessment and development centers. But the assessment and development centers had a pre and post. The post was MDP, Management Development Programs. The pre was we will train them on competencies and what will happen in the ADCs.
Okay. What will happen in the
ADCs, the Assessment and Development Centers.
Okay.
So what are the competencies will be judged on? We used to give them a dummy case study to work on. Now the CHRO came to me and said, Gabriel, I don't want to invest the pre for a 2-day workshop. They come to one place because they'll be already coming at the assessment center. So already cost is there. So your question is answered, business impact.
Right.
So I said, we can do a 4-day. He said, no, because there are salespeople. If I pull them out, the sale is down.
True.
So then we said virtual. Now this is pre-COVID, Roshana. The Zooms and Teams.
Nothing of that
was there. So we used something called as GoToMeet. There was a software where you can just log in. So we did, and because it was pharmaceutical, 10 to 5 we cannot touch them.
Right.
So we used to do a 8 to 9 1-hour workshop from the office.
Oh, okay.
Go back to the model.
Right.
Sequential, global. We used that model there.
Right.
And created that. So as a L&D professional, you have to be agile.
Right.
You have to be flexible. One size fits all days are gone, Roshan. I mean, if there are some people who still believes, I'm not saying they'll not do well, they'll do well. But over a period of time, the way AI is coming into, the one size fits all days are gone.
The objective will obviously not be achieved.
And that's where the business will always come back to and say, what have you done?
Right.
Where is the impact?
Right.
I'll not quote somebody's name, but I was speaking to a divisional head of a pharmaceutical giant. And this was his quote. That's why I'm not going to take the name. Gabriel, I don't want any programs. You let me know how many prescriptions can they sell one day.
Okay.
So you got a why, right?
Right. That's the requirement of the business. True.
So I got a why. Then I said, fine, I'll give you that. So based on that, in the strategy meet or in the product training, we will do a 4-hour module. Because typically a product training for a pharma ends in 1.5 days. Because then the business head takes over and discusses how many doctors you have to meet, what are the prescriptions.
True.
If I think from a service industry, and if you're doing in wealth management, then after 1.5 day of product training, the rest half a day is the regional managers or the zonal managers.
Right.
They discuss the business. That becomes my how.
Interesting.
Because there where we can sit with the business head, we can develop up a model, and we can create the outcome. And now you tell them what you're going to do.
True.
So you have to reverse what we did earlier.
True.
That's the benchmark. I mean, yes, there are people who are still doing great with older models.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I mean, looking.
So that brings me to another question is, how does this model, the Felder-Silverman model, differ from other models like the VARCS or the Cobb's experiential learning model? Why should an L&D guy choose this model over that one?
Okay.
What is the...
First, the basic differences.
Right.
The Felder-Silverman model focuses on your cognitory ways of processing information.
Okay.
So it's a dimension, it's a domain.
Right.
If I take a little bit detour, like Bloom. Now, if you look at a lot of people talks about Bloom's taxonomy.
Right.
But there is a Bloom adult learning model which is called as CAP, C-A-P.
Okay.
Which is cognitive, affective, and psychomotor.
Okay.
Now, this model was initially developed only CNA by Bloom, Benjamin Bloom, in 1956.
Right.
The psychomotor was later enhanced till 2001.
Okay.
So, even though the actual taxonomy was there. So, coming back to your question is, it's the thought process.
Right.
That's what Felder-Silverman says. You were talking about David Kolb. It's a learning style. So I create the entire journey based on the learning style.
Okay.
To touch base a little bit, the difference between these two models, and the one you said VARK, that's a sensory information. How do I, it's only focused on how do I process.
Right.
So for you, you might be an excellent visual learner.
Right.
So anything that comes in front of you, it can happen like this. Let me give an example.
Sure.
In one of the programs, we were doing an activity, and it was a TTT. So one of the trainers asked me, Gabriel, how can you use the VARK model as an activity
Right.
to let the trainers know? So I did a simple activity. So I told the group of people that I'll give you 6 seconds.
Mhm.
Look at around you, surroundings, and let me know how many objects can you observe.
Okay.
6 seconds over, they wrote it down. Excellent. I'll give you now 5 seconds, but do it as a group. So Gabriel and Roshan will now do. They did it.
Right.
Then I did it as a team. Trust me, the team won. Why? Because there your observation skills are multiplied.
Right.
So even if I say right now, if I say Roshan, observe what is, they'll say with this 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
That's your observation because your memory has a span of 6 seconds only.
Interesting.
But when you add 1 plus 1, it's 6 plus 6, 12.
Correct.
3, 18 seconds. So now you devise a plan. Roshan, you focus on the right side. Gabriel, you focus on the left side. And there is another person who will focus on the middle.
Right.
That is what the model is all about. It's dimensions.
Right.
That's the core difference. Application wise, if you want to build academies or learning journeys, or it's not that you can't do with Kolb, but in Kolb, it's the other way around. It's more from a context where, okay, I have a group of people, you run a survey, index of learning services or the index of learning survey, you come to know I have 10% or 50% is visual. But you cannot go ahead and say that, okay, 50% I will only do visual learning.
Right.
30% I will do auditory. That's not possible, right?
Correct.
So that is how it's typically from a training delivery perspective. When I'm doing an online learning program, okay, why I use breakout rooms, auditory or visual or kinesthetics. So it's purely from a delivery perspective. Kolb is more from an experiential learning. Okay, can I use an active experience in a training program? Kolb's is a cyclical process. It's active experience, then reflective observation, then abstract conceptualization, then active experiment.
Right.
Again, it goes back to active experience. So it goes on. Felder-Silverman model is more from a domain perspective. You can use one domain, you can use 2, 3, 4, whatever you choose. That's the core differences.
Interesting. It's the application part that would play the
any model, Roshan, in today's scenario, if you look from the other sides, it's the application that makes it the difference of how you're implementing it.
True.
But yes, the core of it, the difference is it is from a more of a cognitive dimension, and this is more from an experiential dimension.
Of course. And the delivery makes the cherry on the topping.
Absolutely, because that's the input.
Input.
That's your VARK.
Right.
So VARK is common in both the models.
Interesting.
So yeah.
What is VARK, if you can just clarify?
So visual learners, auditory learners, reading, writing learners, and kinesthetics learners. Visual learners are those learners who get into the habit of learning by watching.
Right.
So if you watch a movie, you watch a PPTs, you watch other trainers perform, you learn from it.
Right.
Auditory is the way you listen. So you have the speech of words, the tone, the pitch, the pace, all these things.
Right.
Reading and writing, if you remember one of the training programs back in the day, you have to write.
Right.
So that's read and write. And then kinesthetics, role plays, simulations.
Experiencing it.